Hi guys, so in this video we'll be discussing the determinants of PD, which is price elasticity of demand. The first determinant is substitutability. So let's say we have two different drinks, Coke and Pepsi. So since Coke and Pepsi are relatively close substitutes, since a lot of people don't even realize that there's a difference in their taste, they are really close substitutes. And so if the price of Coke was to, let's say, go up by 10%, so the price of Coke was going up by 10%, what would happen to the QD? Now, since the price is going up, and since there's a close substitute for people to switch to, so let's say people who were consuming Coke before and never really realized that there was a difference between Coke and Pepsi in terms of their taste, will just switch to Pepsi, right? And so this just makes the demand for Coke more price elastic. And so because of that, let's say the price goes up by 10%, the fall in QD will be a value greater than 10%. So just for the sake of clarity, I'm going to take 15%. These are obviously arbitrary values, but that's what makes sense. That since there's a close substitute, the QD falls by a greater amount as compared to the change in price. The next determinant is proportion of income. So let's say if you're spending 100K on this car and around $1 on this packet of Lay's, right? And let's say there is an increase in the price of this good by 10% of both of the goods. So if there's an increase in the price of these goods by 10%, so this car will become will then be worth 110K dollars. That's an increase of 10K due to the increase in 10% or by 10%. Um, and in this case, the new price will be $1.1. So as you can see, the difference in price is huge, right? The difference in the change in the price is huge. So over here it's just going up by $0.1. Over here it's going up by around $10,000. And so people's demand for goods on which they spend a higher proportion of their income, like let's say a car, is more elastic. So since the change is in this case, since they're spending a larger proportion of their income, right, since it costs more, the demand for such a good will be elastic. And if the price goes up by let's say 10%, the demand or QD, so let me just write this down. So P is going up by 10%. The quantity demanded will go down by a value greater than 10%, and I'll just take 15%. So it's going down by 15%. In the case of Lay's, however, since the price is going up by 10% again, but since the change in price is very small, right? So the change in QD will be any value less than 10%, which makes the demand more inelastic. So that's around 5%. So this makes the demand more inelastic. This makes the demand more elastic. The third one is luxury versus necessity. So let's say if you have this luxury watch, probably Rolex, and since the Rolex costs a lot, again, your demand for such a good will be more elastic, right? So if there is a, let's say there is an increase in price by 10%, then your fall in QD will be a value greater than 10%. I'm just going to take 15% here, just to keep the examples constant. Since it's a luxury good, you don't really need the good, and so your demand for such a good is elastic due to changes in price. In the case of a life-saving drug, however, you need the good regardless of how expensive it is. And so if let's say the price goes up by 10%, the demand or QD, sorry, will fall by less than 10%. So probably around 5% or something like that. Then the fourth determinant is time. Let's say this is time period 1, this is time period 2, and initially time period 1, the demand for the good is more inelastic, right? Since people then try to find substitutes as we discussed in point number 1. And so let's say people didn't really know about Pepsi as a substitute to Coke. They took their time, and through that time they realized that okay, Pepsi is the substitute for Coke, and so we can consume Pepsi if the price of Coke goes up. And so the demand becomes more elastic. This is true for all goods, and so it becomes more elastic in the long run. And then habit forming goods. So let's say there's a cigarette. That's like the best cigarette I could draw. Um, let's say if the price goes up by 100%, price is going up by 100%, the QD will probably fall by around 10%. Since people's demand for something like this, which is addictive, um, is pretty constant, and so the QD won't really fall by a lot. That's pretty much it from this video.